this man. You married poor. You stayed poor. That's your whole life. Yes. She doesn't even belong in the front row.
Before we continue, there's something you all need to know.
I waited because truth hurts more when it arrives late.
Before we start this incredible story, I have a quick question for you. Where are you watching this from? And what time is it where you are? I'm always so curious to see where our community is. And as you listen to this, I want you to think about something and be honest. What would you do if you were in her shoes? Let me know in the comments below. I can't wait to read your answers. Now, let's dive in. Our story begins in a quiet town in Ohio with a woman named Emily Walker. Emily was the middle sister, sandwiched between two very different personalities. There was Rachel, the oldest. Rachel was the kind of person who filled every room she entered. She was loud, dominant, and had married into a very wealthy family. Her life was a whirlwind of social events and high-end everything. Then there was Megan, the youngest. If you were to look at her social media, you'd think she had the most perfect life imaginable. Every post was a carefully crafted image of happiness, success, and effortless beauty. She was the family's shining star, at least online. And right in the middle, there was Emily. Emily's life was much simpler, much quieter. She had married her high school sweetheart, Mark, a dedicated public school teacher. They didn't have a lot of money, but they had a lot of love and lived a content, peaceful life away from the spotlight. This difference was never more obvious than at their family dinners. These get-togethers were supposed to be about connection, but they often felt more like a stage for Emily's sisters. The jokes, always cloaked in fake concern, would inevitably land on Emily. "Oh," Emily Ratcha would say, with a sigh, "you never aimed higher, did you?" "Such a shame," Megan would chime in, scrolling through her phone. "You're just too soft for the real world. Em, it's a tough place out there." Through it all, Emily just smiled. That was her signature response. Whether they were questioning her husband's career choice or critiquing her simple lifestyle, she would just offer that same unwavering smile. No one knew what was behind that smile. They just saw a woman who seemed to accept her place as the family's gentle, unambitious middle child. But that smile held a secret, a depth that her sisters, entire self-absorbed worlds, could never begin to comprehend. They thought they knew their sister, but they had no idea who Emily Walker truly was. The truth was far more complex and was about to unfold in a way none of them could have ever predicted. One particularly tense Sunday dinner, the atmosphere was even thicker than usual. Rachel was flaunting a new, ridiculously expensive designer handbag, while Megan was gushing about her upcoming influencer trip to Bali. Emily, as usual, sat quietly, listening to their boasts. Her husband, Mark, tried to steer the conversation toward his student's recent success in a state competition, but he was quickly cut off by Rachel. "That's sweet, Mark," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "But let's talk about things that actually matter in the real world." The jab was aimed at Mark, but it hit Emily. She felt a familiar sting, but her smile remained fixed in place. The evening wore on, a relentless parade of passive-aggressive comments and thinly veiled insults. They critiqued her clothes, her home, her choice to not have children yet. They treated her life as a failure, a disappointment. Little did they know, this dinner was the beginning of the end. Emily's quiet patience was wearing thin, and the foundation of their family dynamic was about to crack. What they didn't realize was that sometimes the quietest people have the loudest minds, and Emily's mind was working on a plan that would change everything. The smile was still there, but behind her eyes, a storm was gathering. At their father's funeral, the tension was so thick, he could cut it with a knife. Everything that had been simmering under the surface for years finally spilled out into the open for everyone to see. Rachel, my older sister, stood up, her voice sharp and loud, echoing through the quiet room. "Dad left his legacy to the ones who actually achieved something," she announced, her eyes locking onto me. Every head in the room swiveled in my direction. The weight of their stares was heavy, pinning me to my spot. For a moment, I just stood there, Frozen. The words I wanted to say, the defenses I wanted to mount, they all got stuck in my throat. Then, slowly, I sank back into my chair. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just sat there, silent, letting her words hang in the air like a storm cloud. Be honest, if this happened to you in public, would you speak up or would you stay silent? Let me know what you would do in the comments below. See, what Rachel and everyone else didn't know was the full story. They saw what was on the surface. My failed art career, my small apartment, my single life. They didn't see the nights I spent by Daddy's bedside in the hospital, when everyone else was too busy with their important jobs and families. They didn't see me navigating the labyrinth of hospital paperwork, deciphering medical jargon, and making sure every form was filled out correctly. They weren't there in those quiet, late-night hours, holding his hand, sharing stories, or just sitting in comfortable silence. They definitely weren't in the room when the final, most important documents were signed. I was, but I never mentioned it, not once. Because some power, the truest kind of power, works best when no one sees it coming. Fast forward a week, the funeral was over, the condolences had trickled to a stop, and we were all trying to find our new normal in a world without Dad. We were gathered at the family home, a place now filled with more ghosts than memories, to begin the grim task of sorting through his belongings. The air was still thick with unspoken resentment. Rachel and my other sister, Sarah, were already mentally dividing up the assets, their voices a low, greedy hum. I was in the kitchen, making tea, trying to stay out of their way. That's when the mail slot clattered. I walked over and picked up the small pile of letters from the floor. Bills, junk mail, and then a thick, cream-colored envelope. It was addressed to all three of us, from our father's lawyer. My heart started to pound a little faster. This was it. I walked back into the living room, holding the letter. Rachel snatched it from my hand without a word. She tore it open, her eyes scanning the page with an arrogant smirk. But as she read, the smirk slowly faded. Her face went from confident to confused, then to pale, shocked, disbelief. Sarah, noticing the change, leaned over. "What is it? What does it say?" Rachel didn't answer. She just looked up from the letter, eyes wide, and stared at me. The silence in the room was absolute, a crushing weight that promised everything was about to change. A letter had arrived, and with it, a truth that would shatter the world they thought they knew and rearrange the pieces forever. The next time the sisters met, the atmosphere was thick with tension. This time, they weren't alone. A sharply dressed lawyer sat at the head of the conference table, his briefcase open, a stack of documents neatly placed before him. Rachel, ever the picture of arrogance, sat back with a smirk, crossing her arms as if she already knew the outcome. Her sisters fidgeted, their eyes darting between Rachel and the lawyer, unsure of what to expect, but clearly feeding off Rachel's unearned confidence. Emily, on the other hand, sat quietly, her hands folded in her lap, her expression calm and unreadable. The lawyer cleared his throat, the sound echoing in the silent room. "We're here to discuss the last will and testament of your father," he began, his voice steady and professional. He picked up the top document. "Your father, in his wisdom, created a conditional trust for the estate." He looked directly at Rachel and her sisters. "This means that while you are the beneficiaries, certain conditions must be met for the inheritance to be fully transferred." Rachel's smile widened. She leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with greed. "Conditions? What conditions? Just get on with it. We all know my father wanted me to take over." She shot a venomous glare at Emily, who didn't flinch. The lawyer simply held up a hand to silence her. "Please, allow me to finish." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle in the room. "The ownership of the company and all associated assets is, for now, temporary." A flicker of confusion crossed Rachel's face, but she quickly masked it with another sneer. "Temporary? What does that even mean?" she scoffed. The lawyer ignored her interruption. "Full and final control," he continued, his gaze sweeping over the sisters before landing squarely on Emily, "belongs to the designated executor of the trust. This person has the ultimate authority over all business decisions. asset management, and the final distribution of the inheritance, pending the fulfillment of the trust's conditions. The room was so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. Rachel leaned in, her impatience palpable. And who is it? One of his old business partners. Spit it out. The lawyer took a slow, deliberate breath, then looked past Rachel, his eyes meeting Emily's. That executor is Emily Walker. Silence. Complete and utter silence. Rachel's jaw dropped. Her sisters stared, their faces a mixture of shock and disbelief. Then, a harsh, grating laugh erupted from Rachel. "That's a joke!" she shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at Emily. "That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. She's nobody, a glorified helper. My father would never." The other sisters started murmuring in agreement, their shock turning to outrage. "She's right. This has to be a mistake," one of them chimed in. Throughout the chaos, Emily remained silent, her composure unshaken. Finally, as Rachel's tirade began to run out of steam, Emily spoke. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the noise with the sharpness of a blade. "I was there," she said, her eyes locking onto Rachel's. "I was there for him every single day. I was there for the late-night worries, the early morning meetings he was too tired to handle. I was there when he was sick and scared. I was there when you weren't." Each word was a blow, dismantling Rachel's entitled fury, piece by piece. For the first time, Rachel had no comeback. She could only stare, her face pale as the truth of Emily's words hit her with the force of a physical impact. Have you ever stayed quiet while being underestimated, just waiting for the right moment to show your true strength? Share your story in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. Faced with her sister's desperate apologies and offers of money, Emily did something nobody expected. She didn't take a single dime. Instead, she pointed to the will, to the clauses their father had so carefully put in place. The respect clauses, the clauses that required them to make mandatory donations to charity in their father's name. The clauses that demanded a public acknowledgement of the truth. Emily simply asked them to follow the rules. It was a test, a final chance for them to show a shred of decency. But Rachel, blinded by pride, refused. She couldn't stomach the idea of admitting her wrongdoings publicly. And with that refusal, the legal consequences, which had been suspended, came crashing down. The legal team, following the will's strict instructions, initiated the process. Rachel lost everything. Her inheritance, the company shares. The property's all of it was forfeit. Just as their father had stipulated, there was no shouting match, no dramatic insults thrown across the room. Emily didn't need to raise her voice. She simply watched as the consequences of their own actions unfolded. Her victory wasn't loud. It was the quiet, undeniable click of a lock turning. It was the weight of justice, delivered not by anger, but by the calm enforcement of rules they had long ignored. Emily had won, but her victory was in the silent dignity she maintained while their world crumbled months beset. The legal dust settled, and the noise of the scandal faded away. If you were to look for Emily, you wouldn't find her flaunting newfound wealth or celebrating her victory. You'd find her in the bright, cheerful library of a local elementary school, volunteering her time, surrounded by the gentle rustle of turning pages and the quiet hum of children learning. She's helping a young girl sound out a difficult word, a patient smile on her face. Her power was never about the money or the inheritance. It was about patience. It was about holding onto her self-respect when everyone else tried to strip it away. It was the quiet strength to walk away from toxicity and build a life of genuine purpose. She found a peace, not in revenge, but in rediscovering her own value, far from the shadows of her family. As she looked out the window at the children playing, she thought to herself, I didn't win. I just stopped letting them decide my worth. And in that simple, powerful realization, she was finally, truly free. What lesson did this story teach you? And should I share more stories like this one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more.